Alright guys, let's fire this thing up. A little different intro for you. It's getting a little boring the other way, so I figured I'd try something new out. So, my name is Adam Van Ord, and you are watching Live at 9:45, and this week I'm interviewing Dion J. Rosser, whose name you guys may know more as MrCommaD. He is building some super cool 3D printed stuff now, but he is a long-time Scratch builder, been on the Scale Builders Guild for a significant amount of time, doing great things, and I think it's time to highlight that and bring him on. I don't know if I don't have my ad request, so I will search him out and go from there. Before we get started, I wanted to talk briefly about the fact that this is Live at 9:45. We will have a live interview going on if you haven't seen the show before. During our live interview, we know you're commenting. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in. We can see you, and I go back through and try to make comments. Last show had 1,000 comments, so the last show with 1,000 comments on it was like intense. I couldn't respond to everybody, and that is what it is. However, I'll do my best. I go back through, I talk to some people, and go with all those things. Now, before I bring Dion on camera, I just want you to know that we are going to hold our interview. We don't really respond to the comments. You guys have fun talking amongst yourselves, but please keep it PG rated. Anything I put out there is a representation of me, and that's what I want to represent. So please respect that. I did put up a post about that. If you have any questions, you can read the pinned post somewhere up there in whatever's going on your browser. Aside from that, let's get this thing fired up. I'm going to search them in, bring them up, we'll go from there. Alright, there we go. Coming on. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Oh man, it never fails. I never get the volume right, no matter how I try. So, all right. So, for those of the people out there that don't know you, your name is Dion, and you are MrCommaD, and you have those cool scale trucks kicking around up behind you. And let's get this interview fired up, man. Awesome. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm just a regular guy, kind of a hermit. I'm a family man, wife and 6 kids, you know, and I like tiny trucks, so I'm an addict.
Fair enough. I think a lot of us are. That's why people are tuning in and checking it out, man. How long have you...
Still trying to figure out why you got me on here.
Oh, my.
I'm excited and nervous.
The killer builds, the 3D printing stuff, which we're going to talk about later on and what's going on, and then just the overall respectful presence in the community is what I'm after. So you fit all of the bills, so you are the right person for the job, and I can't be happier than to talk to you on camera.
Well, thank you very much.
And for some reason, people like watching this, so I'll keep doing it while people want to watch it.
Well, you do a great show. I mean, I've been watching, you know, pretty much since the beginning, and every week it's been better and better. You just keep knocking out of the park, man, and I really hope that you keep going forward with it.
Thanks, man. I totally plan to, as long as the technology issues don't get in the way, so we'll see how that goes.
Yes.
How long have you been in this hobby?
I started when I was a child. Probably going to date myself here, but I got my first hobby grade RC when it was first released, and that was the Tamiya Monster Beetle in 1987.
Okay.
And I was into that for, you know, pretty much till I got my license. I turned 16, and then all of a sudden, you know, you get into the one-to-one world, and
yeah,
it was, you know, started building cars and less toys. Well, I mean, just bigger toys, right. But.
No, I hear you, man. Cars are more expensive than RCs, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to call out to all these awesome people who are watching. If you guys would be happy to hit that share button, and let's get some more people up in here. That would be awesome. It would make more of what we're doing going on. And additionally, why don't you comment where you're watching from? I always like going back through and checking those out. So, Dion, what or who got you into the hobby? Like, what started it for you?
The first time? Or now?
Let's do them both. that works fine.
Okay. The first one was I was picking up. I used to get the hot rod magazines and the cartoons magazines at the local corner store where I grew up. And I don't know if you know what cartoons is, but it was an awesome cartoon magazine all about hot rods and stuff.
Awesome.
And one day I was in there picking up the cartoons magazine, and I saw Radio Controlled Car Action magazine right beside it. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of neat. So I ended up buying that magazine instead of my cartoons. And yeah, I just kind of dreamed and wanted one for a long time. And then one summer I got on with my science teacher doing yard work for him. And I was like 14 years old and doing his yard work, and made enough money, went down to the hobby shop, saw, I'm a big Beetle fan. Anybody that knows me, I love old VW bugs. Anyways, when I saw that monster Beetle, I knew it was mine. And I brought it home and tore into it. Mom gave me heck. She's like, what the hell? You know, but I mean, I built it and gave it a custom paint job, called it the Warrior. It was pretty cool. And I was, you know, I just subscribed to I got my mom to get me a subscription to the Radio Controlled Car Action. And that, I mean, I fell in love with them then. And then, yeah, I just kind of fell off. And then I guess like 6 years ago, my wife and I, we built a Jeep to go out into the woods with and have some fun. And we're watching YouTube videos on Moab and stuff like that, you know, because we always want to go there, and the Rubicon Trail. And so we're just like, and I stumbled across a video of this little Toyota truck just out playing, and I'm like, I had to take a second look, and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, that's an RC. So I'm like, I looked at the wife, and I'm like, man, that thing's cool. And I started doing a bunch of research on it and found out it was a TF2. And I broke the Jeep and was sitting there whining and complaining that I needed something to tinker with. And it took me about 6 months to convince her, but she's probably regretting it now. But yet I got one and just started building, and then I started finding out more about forums and stuff like that, and found RCC and Scale Builders Guild, and then my mind was blown. I was like, wow, this is just amazing. And yeah, I didn't know anybody in my area, so I started a group called Kamloops Crawlers and Scalers on Facebook. Added one person that I knew had one, but I knew him from like off-road world, but so I added him, and then I don't know, just slowly gained momentum and meeting people through forums and stuff like that, and found, you know, there was a common interest and it was growing, and it's that's pretty much how it started. Again.
Awesome, man. So you've had 2 starts, which is pretty sweet. If you were to get back out of the hobby and you were going to do something else, what would be your hobby of choice?
Oh, it's cars. I'm still into cars and trucks. You know, it's just, well, I like to tinker. That's my thing. I'm a tinker.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. Like, I always have to be doing something. And if I'm not doing something with my hands, I have to be doing something with my brain, and it never stops. So even when I'm sitting around, like, there's no sitting and watching TV. It's like, my wife always yells at me, you're always on your phone. Yeah, because if I just sit and watch the TV, like, that, I just can't stop thinking anyway. So I'm always doing something with my phone. So, but that's where I'm at if I'm sitting down. So, my next question is, and I'm guessing, I'm just going to throw it out there that I'm.
Tim, it's Dion J.
Yeah.
I just saw his comment.
So, no, you're good.
All one word.
Yeah. So what's your preference? Big tire trucks or small tire trucks?
Oh, tiny. I got into it with the TF2 and went bigger tires, and from the one-to-one world, I know, you know, the higher you get your center of gravity,
right,
the less stable you are. So unless you go wider. If you, you know, that's kind of my theory. If you go bigger, go as much as you went bigger, go
Right.
wider.
No.
But yeah, I did it. But you know, it gets to a point where you build these big trucks and they're 2.2s, and it takes the challenge out of some of the stuff. You know what I mean? It's just I like the scale end. I've tried the crawling end, and yes, it's fun. It's just I enjoy the tiny tires myself. Yeah. I'm not saying other people shouldn't. you know, it's a personal choice. Yeah. I just enjoy them. It really, I like to get the scale end of it. Like, to me, that's what it's all about, is the detail and, you know, the attention to detail and the realism that you can put into it.
Right. Which totally makes sense when we talk in the future questions about some of the 3D printing stuff and the MrCommaD, like the scale design by MrCommaD stuff. I understand why you go that route if that's your focus, is the scale aspect. I get it. Brushed or brushless?
I've gone both ways, but I'm a fan of brush.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm not a go fast guy. I tried racing, and to me, I don't race. I crash. I'm a crasher. So, yeah.
My problem is if it goes fast, then ultimately I'm going to jump it. And if I jumped it once, I'm going to jump it bigger the next time. And then it goes downhill from there. Stuff starts breaking.
Oh, I love speed. Anybody that drove with me in my younger years knows I love speed. But when you were talking speed on a smaller scale, I can't quite figure it out yet. I've tried. I haven't given up. I have some quick little cars and I take them out. I built a pretty sweet little Tamiya XV01 long damper spec rally car, and that's probably my favorite RC to drive. Yeah. Just because the way it corners, it handles, it transitions between the curves and stuff like a real car, and I think that's why I like that one. You know.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense, and again, back to the realism. It's all about the realism.
I know. I'm a sucker for it.
Exactly. What do you like most about the RC hobby?
The most? Yeah. Honestly, it's the talent that I see out there. There's so much talent. Like, it's just sickening, like the stuff that people are doing. I would like to say I like the social aspect of it, but I have social anxiety, so you know that's part of the reason why I'm doing this interview is to conquer, get over that. So
no, dude, I think I commend you for stepping up, especially if you have that going on, and in all reality, this is a great forum for that, especially since I mean, it's more or less like, for anybody who hasn't done a live feed talking to someone, or anybody who sees this, like, it's more or less like I'm just talking to him, and then you guys' comments scroll up and down the screen. It's actually great, and it's one of the reasons, and it's one of the drives. I will just stop everything and tell you all right now that me doing live at 9:45 is a little selfish on my end, because I get to talk to all these people, and I mean tons of people that I wouldn't have spent time like sitting around talking to face to face. And so I truly enjoy it, and a lot of these questions come from me, and they're what I want to know. And so
for sure.
that
I enjoy awesome. Watching it with you, man.
So yeah,
I'm excited to be here. Like I said, it's awesome. Heart's pounding.
Well, the good news is all the answers are right because they're yours, so it doesn't matter what you say. So a lot of people know you as MrCommaD with the Scale by MrCommaD thing. Where did the MrCommaD name come from?
Oh man. So growing up where I grew up in a town called Penticton in the Okanagan here in Canada. It's a small town, small city. It's only about, maybe 38,000 population. And, but it's close, it's only like 3 hours from Vancouver. And, um, I had a lot of friends, rap was coming out, and they were, you know, they're trying to be rappers. And I mean, some of them have gone on and been quite successful.
Yeah.
And, but I'm not a rapper. Never have been.
Man, I was hoping for like a good check out my YouTube video story going on here.
Oh, no, not quite that. I got some stories, but I won't share them here. We got to keep this PG. Penticton's a wild town to grow up in, I'll tell you that much, especially pre-riot, pre-MC Hammer riot days.
Yeah.
So anyways, my buddy Greg that I grew up with, he's like my little bro, man. He's was an aspiring rapper and really good, and he was trying to convince me to get up on stage, and I was like, no. I like listening to rap. My wife hates my music choice. I'm a country bumpkin. I love my country music. I like and I like heavy metal. Yeah. So I've got that, and then so it was just kind of a conversation, and it started off with, what you want me on stage? That's pretty funny, I can't rap. And he's like, yeah, you can. Anybody can rap. I'm like, no, dude. I said, you're going to put me up on stage. What's my name going to be? MrCommaD, because it's going to be hilarious when I get up there. And it just kind of stuck. It's my gamer tag for gaming. And I don't know, I started using it as my handle, for the forums on Scale Builders Guild. And
yeah.
I
never read it that way. So like,
and most people read it as MrCommaD.
Oh, yeah. See, I did the first time, yes. I totally put the N in there. And then I was like, MrCommaD. I never put together MrCommaD. Like, I never read it fast enough to put that piece.
Yeah, but it's kind of a play on words, like Mr.
Yep.
It would be like Mr. D, but there's like...
No, I got you, man.
A comma there. So.
I dig it. It's a well thought out handle. Like mine's like, I signed up for RCC and I didn't know what I was doing. Like I'd never signed up for a forum before. So mine's A Van Ord. Like that's really original. Good job, me.
Well, mine before that was just my name, Dion J, or DJ.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
So as a longtime scratch builder, and you have a bunch of like killer builds. Like I've seen a bunch of pictures. Do you have like how many scale rigs do you have in your collection right now?
After our conversation the other day, I went and actually looked, and scale rigs, I have 18.
Okay.
In different stages of completion. I'm like, I get into stuff and I squirrel. I have, got buddies that come by on, I try and hold a tech night every Wednesday in my shop. Yeah. So I have buddies that come by, and actually Darren there can attest. I have I have a bunch of projects going on at once, more than anybody should. So, and I'm always borrowing from Peter to pay Paul,
Yeah.
So, and I'm probably the world's slowest builder too. I'm not.
What?
It takes me a long time to get, through.
Yeah, I mean, with 6 kids, you're a busy guy. So. Oh,
there you go, Darren, king of unfinished projects.
Well, and one of the things that's interesting is I feel like there's like 2 schools in that. Like some people like pick one, start one, finish one, and then talking to you, you're all over the map. I'm now all over the map. Like I used to pick one and finish one. I've been all over the map for the last year. And then like when I was talking to Donnie Branham, he said the same thing. Like I start working, I get to a point where I'm like, I'm done with this, and they move on to the next one, and like back and forth. So.
Oh, I totally do. I get in trouble for this one all the time. So I got my TF2, and then I built it and had fun with it. And my next build that I got into directly after a TF2 is FMJ.
Yeah.
And FMJ stands for Full Metal Jacket. And what I had done, I saw all these videos on and builds on, you know, of these tubers. And I thought, I could do that. So picked up a MIG welder, some tubing and a bender and a bunch of sheet metal. And I went to town and started building my rock bouncer.
Yeah.
And I've had it together and apart and together and apart. And it actually, funny stories, it's that build actually made me friends. So awesomest people I've ever met, and they're lifelong friends now. So
yeah,
good. But yeah, it's like the unfinished one, and it was my second build ever into scale. I'm still proud of it. I mean, it's not as, I mean, you look at like Tim Graham's work, or, you know, Lou Lee, and, you know, those guys, they're phenomenal. My buddy Wrencher from the Scale Builders Guild is one of the most phenomenal metal workers I know of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is just incredible. And I'm lucky to live close enough to him that I can go see him and get some pointers. And
yeah,
so
that's awesome, man. So what one of those 18 scale rigs that you're holding in that collection is your favorite? And would you like pull it off the shelf, maybe show it off for a second, talk about it, and then we'll go from there?
I don't have a favorite. I like them all. That's why I build them, is like, it's rig, you know, it's something I wanted. The one that I finished for, I did the GCM Adventure Series.
Yeah.
Is my Jalan 2 Custom Series 3 build.
Yeah.
So it took me over 2 years to build this. The whole top comes off, and
Killer.
so it's got sliding windows, and all hand built. You can, if you want to see more pictures of it, you can go onto the Scale Builders Guild, and it's MrCommaD builds Series 3 Land Rover.
Nice.
I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually me driving. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, man, I dig it. So I'm gonna pose a question to everybody else, and then we'll shift gears here and talk a little bit about the rest of your collection. A little different style is, guys out there watching. There's 33 of you right now. What was your longest scale build? So he said 2 years to build a truck. I've never gone that long. I've been like 9 or 10 months on the Tri-Van. What was your longest build to date? All right, let's talk about your other form of collection going on in the hobby. And I'm not sure how many people do or do not know this, but you're also into vintage RCs. So how many vintage RCs do you have kicking around?
32. I sold some.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm 32 vintage RCs now.
Awesome.
So
what's the draw for collecting the vintage RCs for you?
I wanted, you know, when I got into it in the 80s, RCC magazine, you know, you see the ads and the other ones growing up, and you want them. And then as I started finding them local and then buying them. And I mean, none of mine are shelfers. Mine are all runners.
Right.
I like to have fun. So when I get them running.
Yeah, I agree. If I build it, I'm going to run it. I'm going to beat on it. And then I'll probably tear it down and turn it into something else because I recycle stuff. So that's how I do it. But I think a lot of people build one at a time, and then that truck is that truck. But I can tell you there have been like 8 or 10 different iterations of what is now the Space-Acorn. It's just a lot of those parts. Seriously, some of those parts are probably 5-6 years old. And I don't think a lot of people do that, but that's what I do. So
Yes.
What is your favorite vintage car in your collection? And if it's accessible, like, do you want to maybe talk about it, or maybe tell us why that one's like the one?
Um, I love them all. That's a hard one. uh, I love my sand scorcher. It was a gift to me from a friend. I have a vintage sand scorcher, the original release from 1979. That was given to me in a box in pieces, and I've slowly been putting that one back together and taking it apart and put it back together. But it's probably my most brittle one, but it's my funnest one to drive, and well, for the vintage ones,
Right.
hands down. If you haven't got an XV01 from Tamiya, get one. That's the best car to drive, hands down, for fun. For me, well, for me, anyways.
Yeah, I've never run
But
anything. I've never run anything like that. I've been almost solely crawlers. Like I had a Slash at one point, but that's about it.
Get yourself a Midnight Pumpkin or a Lunchbox, man. They're cheap and they're a blast. Wheelies for days.
Yeah.
The way they bounce, like you drive them across your lawn, just bouncing. They're hilarious.
Awesome. Now is really like the part that I want to talk about the most, I think. And so this is the thing that to me makes you fairly unique, and I'm a little envious because I started this process and then quit it. But let's talk a little bit about the 3D printing stuff. What got you started in 3D printing?
Well, I bought a printer. I was building my Brute there, doing my scratch build. Again, another project that's not finished.
And again, that one I'm sure is on a forum somewhere, and you guys should be because I've seen great pictures of that.
Yeah. I started scratch building out of styrene 4-liter inline 6, and I got so far into it, and I just wasn't happy with it. And then I thought, it'd be nice if I could just 3D print that and get the lines the way I want. And so I did a bunch of research and bought a 3D printer, and I did more research on 3D rendering and software programs. And so I got everything, and I just sat down one day and started doing stuff. And actually the first thing I ever designed was for this one here.
Yeah.
And it's a little brake booster.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then from there, I wanted like, to me, the detail has to be there, and I wanted as true to scale looking for that scale of build.
Right.
Because that's a Sector 7 body that I've heavily cut up and modified and turned into a Brute. And there wasn't a block that was on the market that was big enough or looked right to me. So, because it's all in the details to me. So I thought, I'm going to try this. And so I started doing some rendering, and then that was last July.
I didn't know the timeline. Like, I applaud you.
Yeah, that was last July that I got the printer and just started to, and I had ideas. Trust me, 3D printing and designing makes you want to pull your hair out, because if you can't get something the way you want, like my wife, I applaud her for putting up with me at rage deleting, as we talked about the other night. I started to do it, and it was a lot of trial and error. Patience came into play, and then I came up with something in October, mid-October, the rendering, and started putting it together. It was, November, December. I had a finished product and I was showing it off, and
Yeah.
it was for my own. And then people were just like, "Wow, hey, that's pretty cool." And actually, Chris from GCM, Mr. Robinson.
Oh yeah.
He approached me, and we, when I was doing the rendering, and he wanted to make sure that it would fit his chassis, and we went back and forth and quite a bit, and so I ended up making him one for his MJ build there. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that kind of kicked me into the spotlight for a second. I'm like, whoa, and I enjoy it, honestly. Just finished the design and the first print of my newest engine for kind of talking with Manitoulou from MFab, and really like his scale of bodies and the detail that he's putting into them. So we're kind of, I started making engines for his bodies,
right?
Because it's you got to have the right size engine for the right body. It just otherwise it doesn't look right. You know what I mean?
I agree completely. Yeah.
So
yeah, man. What do you think is the most difficult part about the 3D printing process?
The most difficult part is the learning, honestly, and having patience to learn from your mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. Anybody thinks they're going to get into 3D printing and print the most perfect part right off the bat? No. It takes hours and hours of tinkering and setting to make sure that you get everything. You've got to understand your machine.
Yep.
And that's the most difficult part, is getting to know your machine, because that takes time. There's lots of guys out there doing it, and I like to help. I'll give them advice on how to, clean up their lines, and because it really is trial and error. It's still growing. It's another hobby that's starting to take off, is the 3D printing.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. Like, I don't know, I'm going to do a shameless plug here, but when you get it right, you can.
Yeah, that's clean. I did it.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
And you got to have patience. If you can't rush. If you want a clean print, you can't rush it. You got to take your time. So it's, I didn't get into 3D printing thinking I'm going to make money at this. Unless, that's not the way I want to do it. I'm a niche.
Yeah.
I'm a crazy old guy that lives in his basement and has a big family, and, I design and print for my own sanity, to keep me, sane and happy.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that people out there appreciate the stuff that I'm doing.
That's awesome.
And I'll continue to do it as long as they love it. To me, it's not about the money. I love the challenge of it. Right. I like learning something new. I grew up very, very, very poor. And if I wanted anything nice in life, I really had to work for it. Yeah. I couldn't have a nice car or someone buy me a nice car. If I wanted a nice car, I had to build it. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you got to have that ethic. To me, if you want to do anything,
gotcha.
you appreciate it. Mm-hmm. It's not, it's not something you take advantage of. It's just, so I truly appreciate the people that support me and, like the stuff that I do. It's, to me, that's the most important thing.
Awesome, man. So what advice would you give someone who's looking into 3D printers and 3D printing software?
Do your research. Do your research. There are tons of forums. There's Google. There's, so much information right at your fingertips. do your research before you jump into it. Because you know what? I can do some nice prints, but do you know how many failures I go through to get to that nice print? Like, it will be disheartening.
Yeah.
But don't give up. If you want to do it, just do it. Dive in, teach yourself, get someone to help you. Anybody can do it. They really can. They just need to apply themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't go to school for it, and I never touched CAD in my life. I can draw on paper, with my hands, and I've always been an excellent artist. I have, like we talked, I'm an idiot savant. If I have this brain, I know it's wired so weird. I'm kind of nuts, but I visualize things, very well, and I see how I need to make them happen. So,
yeah.
It's easy for me. Some people, I can't say, and not everybody's going to be great at it. I'm not the best at it. I'm still learning. And I see stuff out there that just blows my mind that guys are doing with 3D printers, like Manitou Lou, MFab. The detail that he's getting in his bodies just blows my mind. And, because of what he's doing, it inspires me to put even more detail into each one of the engines and things that I design now. And that's just it. I don't print other people's stuff. I'm not that printer. I don't use Yegi. I don't use, to me, that takes the challenge out of it. I like the challenge. I like the learning aspect of it, and the feeling of what you accomplish at the end of it, right? That to me is the most rewarding thing. Is like when I started piecing that all together this morning and got it all together, and I post pictures on my Instagram. Excuse me, I'm having a moment here. That's rewarding.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I think that it's cool because the whole business aspect of it hasn't taken over where it's like I have to do it to make the money. It's more like along the lines of like I'm gonna make this thing, I'm gonna make it for me. If you want to buy it, then by all means, like I'll sell you one because I'll print it for you. But
it's a hobby first and foremost.
Yeah.
I don't make a living doing this.
Right.
No way. It's just something I do for fun to keep myself sane.
Right.
Because we've talked about it. Anybody that doesn't know, I have I suffer from mental illness, and I have severe anxiety. I'm in the middle of a panic attack right now, so I'm fighting through it.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle for me every day, and this is what keeps me going every day.
Gotcha, man.
So.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna extend myself out there and let you know that if you need anything, just shout it out. I'll do whatever. I can make things fit. I can do whatever. So I'm all about highlighting you. So I want to do the best at doing that. I want to shift gears a little bit from the 3D printing piece though, and maybe not concentrate so much on that. Let's talk a little bit about some scale competitions, because my stuff's very rooted in scale competition. I always have been. It's kind of how I started in this hobby. My first thing was like I bought this truck, and now I'm like I want to find other people to do it with, and then I found a competition, and I was like sold. So do you compete in scale competitions, and if so, what's your favorite comp and why? And I pose that question to everybody else who's watching too, so comment up, guys.
I am not competitive. Anxiety keeps me from being competitive. So I love to watch the competitions.
Yeah.
I did my first GCM event. It was my first, ever.
Yeah.
And that was this past April. and it was awesome. But I mean, I went there not to, compete. It's because it was more about, that's what drew me to it, is after watching Chris and Dana talk about what the GCM Adventure Series is, that appealed to me. It's, I know I've driven my rigs up some crazy lines, and I know I can do the comp.
Right.
My brain set and mindset isn't built for comp.
Right.
I'm just not a competitive guy that way.
Yeah. I think I'm the opposite. I think I'm competitive to a fault, and I have to step back sometimes and realize that they're just tiny trucks, and not take it quite so seriously and just have a good time. So, but I get what you're saying, man. I see more and more events pop up that are gaining bigger traction that aren't necessarily competitive in nature. There's some competition within it, but
I've seen some comps and hung out with them, and I think, to me, it's the attitude that some of them have.
Okay.
That puts me off from it. It's like, to me, it's a hobby. It's supposed to be inviting, and if you've got, and I see it online all the time, which is why I've learned the flick and scroll. Just, if you don't like what you see, flick.
Yeah.
Because you're going to argue with somebody till you're blue in the face, because you never win arguments online. They go nowhere, and it just ends up two people with, hurt egos, and who cares? Scroll by.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Hey,
give advice to people that are, when you see it. Don't take criticism to heart, because it's just, life's too short to worry about what's going on.
Yeah,
it's a hobby.
That piece of advice that you just gave there is a big one, and so as people become more entranced in what's going on and focus more, and their news feeds are like all RC all the time, it's hard to stay out of like shoving your opinion out towards somebody else, or getting involved in the back and forth that goes on. And so to just flick that up and scroll thing is where it's at, and I've started doing so much more of that, and I'm a much happier person. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's entertaining to read.
Oh, I do that.
But I honestly don't need the drama to be brought into it. I one time got dragged into a dispute on the Good Bad Feedback page, and oh my God, it wasn't to do with me. I knew a guy that was involved, and I got, because I knew the guy, he was on my friends list. They asked me, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
The guy's still on my friends list. He does. I call it as I see it. I speak my mind, and I'm not going to pussyfoot around. So. And yet, you get the anniversaries that come up.
Yeah.
And it says, you've been friends with so and so. Yeah, like that came up, and then the comment on it from him was, not anymore. I'm like, but we're still friends on Facebook. I'm not gonna delete you.
Right. Yep.
Just if you own your mistakes, if you screw up, make it right.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And don't get involved in drama if you can.
The things you're saying are the things I preach every day. It's legitimately part of my job. Which, by the way, I can't be happier about the fact that I'm blessed with the teaching career, because it's almost over for the year, and my time to do RC and other things is about to skyrocket. So I'm getting it. I can't wait.
I commend you. Like I said, my 13-year-old, you do, your teaching, and you put yourself, I mean, you could choose an easier path than the one that you've chosen, but you put yourself, and you're helping, the troubled ones. And to me, that is amazing. Adam, hats off to you, because, not too many people know how to do that. I have a 13-year-old stepson who's autistic, and he's amazing.
Yeah.
And but you have to, like anything, you have to have patience.
Yes.
You know, to get through it. And, you know,
Yeah. No,
don't judge a
hear you.
book by its cover.
I hear you completely, and I you know, I try not to talk a lot about the teaching stuff on the live feed things, but you know, the reality of it is that I kind of just try to do right by everybody, and that's what I try to do in teaching. It's what I try to do in this, and that's one of the reasons for what's going on here. So what is your Instagram, man? Someone wants to know.
It's Scale Designed by MrCommaD.
There you go. So follow. Wait, other way. Follow. There we go. All right. So who are some of your scale influences in the hobby? And if you could pick someone for me to interview in the future, who would that be?
I've already said it, man. Like my buddy Chris Middleton. The guy is a phenomenal builder. He goes by Wrencher on Scale Builders Guild. He lives, you know, an hour from me. And the things that man can do with plastic and metal is just amazing. I don't know. Did you get a chance to see the tow truck that he finished?
I did check it out. It's awesome.
The Vitera?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That deck with all the rigging and the pulleys. I mean, it was the worst thing for me because we're pretty good friends and I get to see this stuff in person, right?
Yeah.
And so I was down over at his place, and he showed it to me, and it was right before the GCM. Yes, his YJ Eric is amazing. He's done a few nice YJs. There he is right there. That's the man you want to talk to and get on here. That guy is incredible. I don't know if I'm going to take a break from. He did my metal work.
Yeah.
That rear bumper is just like the factory one. The sliders, the roll cage, my cargo rack in the back here, the tube doors.
Yeah.
I tried to do it. I mean, and I can get pretty close. He nails it.
Right.
And I mean, his attention to detail is, you know, amazing. And that's, to me, what inspires me to keep doing better and better and better.
Right.
Is, you know, I see other people's work and it's like, wow, man, that's just freaking awesome.
Right.
Yeah. So he's one of them. There's a few other guys that are like Scotty Lampert, man. He does some phenomenal work.
Yeah.
God. Here I'm drawing blanks. Joe Garlock, I like his builds too. David Kapek. Oh my God, that Bronco you built, bro. And not because it has one of my engines in it, but the detail, like I'm sending one of my engines to him for painting.
Yeah.
Because he did the way he painted that engine, it just blew me away. I absolutely love it. And see, that's why I do what I do. If I can help someone else create their dream,
right,
and they can make my work look even better, I love it. That's just freaking amazing.
Awesome. So you're naming all these people, you're naming all these builds. Now I'm going to challenge you. And so this question for me is an incredibly hard question. It is for most people that I ask. What is your favorite truck out there? And you only get to pick one. I'm not going to let you pick like a dozen. You only get to pick one. What's your favorite one if you had to pick one that's not yours?
Oh my God. See, I prepared for this. You sent me the questions. The record that Wrencher built is pretty freaking sweet. I love Matt's half tracks. David's Bronco is one of the ones on the top of my list. But see, here's the thing. I love looking at them, but the problem is I could never own them because it's not my work.
Right.
You know, I've bought a few of Chris's rigs and stuff like that, but it's
not the same.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I want to own stuff, but it's not the same satisfaction as the stuff that I'm doing.
Right.
Like, but like I would love to own some builds, but the sad fact is I wouldn't use them then.
Right.
I like to use my stuff. I've bashed and broken more bodies and just driven crazy, and people are like, oh my god, and I'm like, man, it's plastic, we can fix it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So I don't know, I really love, and I love Scott Lampert's little Jeep build that he did.
Yeah,
that is probably, I keep going around, I love, you know, a bunch of stuff, but that one for the true represent Doug Lease, actually, man, I think of that one, that tough truck Chevy that he finished.
Yeah, I was drooling over that one a little bit.
Yeah, like, so you know, that's the problem. I want so many, I can't afford them. So I can't narrow it down to one. That's a tough one. Like, I'm happy owning my stuff.
Yeah.
I'd love to own every one that I fall in love with, but unfortunately, the reality is I can't afford it.
Right.
I could barter and trade. Anybody need 3D printing?
No, dude, I totally follow you. I think that's probably one of the hardest questions there is to answer is like, what is one that you would have to have? And especially if you're following a lot of people. Like, if you're just following a few people and you're really focused on these guys, like, you could probably name one. But if you're following the community, there's just so much great stuff out there, and people are.
Your tri-van is on my list too, man. That thing's so damn unique. I love that.
Thank you.
When you first, you know, and I'm like, and he's competing with that thing?
I did, yeah.
That was just mind-blowing to me. I'm like, that is awesome.
Thanks.
Almost as awesome as your square wheels.
Hey, the square wheels are broken. I may have to contact my my guy and get some more, but they need a redesign. They weren't quite the way they were designed wasn't quite right, and I'm not sure I'll ever do another set, and I will tell.
How about a triangle wheel?
You know, I could do one.
Yield to the rocks, man. Yield to the rocks.
Here's the problem with doing a wheel that is not round. For anybody that is interested, A, it's not a beadlock, which is fine. Glue-on wheels work amazing, but it took me almost 3 hours to glue 4 tires onto 4 wheels. That's insane. Like, I'm not doing that all the time. So,
have you ever tried to mount a Proline onto an RC 4-wheel drive wheel?
I would wager that this was worse. Like, you had to glue it and then hold it there and make sure the glue dried. You couldn't move till the glue dried.
So how many times did you glue your fingers to the tire then?
I can't count that, and my fingertips, you know how your fingertips get like covered in CA? Like, they were like, you couldn't feel anything anymore. So
I love that feeling. You're just like, oh wow, I got a hard cap on my fingers. I can't grab a screw for the life of me.
Yep, that's what happened. I couldn't even feel them anymore. I didn't know what was going on. So,
well, that's like me. I'm playing with mech and styrene right now. I love that. It is the best thing ever.
Right.
For plastic, you know. You can use red putty all you want. I'm gonna put plastic filler in with plastic. It becomes one again. Oh my god, that stuff is awesome. But yeah, you get like a plastic finger, and you got to soak your hands in like boiling hot water to get it off.
Yeah.
But
great.
The results when you start sanding it down and you've got the all one piece, and it just makes it so much stronger. Little advice for anybody that's doing scratch building with styrene. If you're going to make filler, you know, and don't use the red stuff. It cracks, it shrinks. Tamiya putty, I love. I've been a big fan of Tamiya putty for years. Yeah. But, you know, after talking and following other people's advice, methyl ethyl ketone and styrene mixed into a glue and spread out with a little spackle, and, you know, you do a miniature bodywork. But, yeah, it becomes one with the plastic again. I like to use the same colored plastic as what I'm building the body with. So black styrene for the black brute. If I'm working on my Tamiya Jeep up there, it's white, you know, just keeps it uniform. And then it's just as easy to, maybe a little tougher than the putty, but I mean, the end result is it's smooth, It's one piece of plastic again, and it's stronger.
Yeah, I played around with that, and the next time.
Yes, the Citadel stuff is awesome too, David.
Yeah. The next time that I go into like, I mean, coming up soon, over the summer here, when I start building stuff again, for filler, it's totally the way to go, man. It doesn't shrink, it doesn't crack, it doesn't degrade. Like, it's amazing. It's absolutely the way to go. It's one of my favorite pieces of the puzzle that I learned. So,
yes.
So, are you more of a fan of Facebook, or are you more of a fan of the forums, and why one over the other?
They each serve their purpose. You know, if Facebook is instant gratification,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But it's soon forgotten. Where forums kind of freeze it in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you take on a forum, you take the time to draw it out. Not too many times do you see on Facebook the complete build in one area.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. You know what I mean? And so each one has its serves its purpose. I just recently got into Instagram. It was Matt Kett that he's like, you know, when I first started doing my engines,
yeah.
And you know, I became a vendor on the Scale Builders Guild, and they're like, well, you know, I want to tag you in on Instagram. What's your handle? I'm like, I don't have Instagram. What's Instagram? Well, I mean, you know, I knew what it was, but I really didn't think I didn't think to look that people were posting their builds and stuff there. I always thought of Instagram as, oh, look what I ate today for lunch.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I just started I really started taking off with mine over the last probably like 9 or 10 months. I try to do something every day on my Instagram. It's easy. It's take this picture, upload it, and then like people see it. And so I've driven myself to like legitimately try to post something once a day. And it's made a big difference. It's grown fairly quickly, and I like it. So,
you know, I don't post much. I do a lot of liking and thumbs up.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't actually put. It's my personality. I'm very self-conscious because of my condition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try not to. I create drama. You know, I don't post a lot. It's it's a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I probably would be a lot more successful if I pimped myself out and pushed myself every day. But I can't. You know what I mean? I'm just limited to what I can do mentally. So.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about Instagram is
like a squirrel. Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you ever watch the movie Disney's Up, man, I am that dog. That is totally me.
So Instagram's awesome because you literally can just post a picture and then move on. And I love it. So check out my Instagram. Check out his Instagram. The whole pointing thing gets me every time. Yeah, that way. And so mine's just _customs, and yours is scale design by MrCommaD.
Yeah, so original. Eh?
Yeah, no, both of us really. And so check them out. We post things and stuff and like them. That's always good. Makes us post more stuff and things.
Oh, for sure.
What advice would you give to someone just starting out in this hobby? Like, just picked up their first ready to run, never done anything before. What's the advice?
Learn your rig. Take it out and use it. Break it. You know, learn to fix it. Because it's going to happen. It's going to break. You can buy the most expensive part in the world, and crap happens. I watched a guy drive his rig off a 70-foot cliff. Get a second job. That's yeah. And you know, if you can, just have fun with it and get to know your rig before you start changing anything. And if you change, you know, do your changes slowly.
Yeah.
You gotta learn what it can do. If you're getting an SCX10, the first thing I tell a guy to do is, you know what, get better, upgrade your steering. Either do, you know, the VP 8-degree 0 Ackerman, or, you know, do an XR mod if you want to increase your steering. If you're a competitive guy, I like to have good steering. You know, I have nothing like doing a 15-point turn to get around. You know, I'd rather just zip it around. Yeah, and don't take it anything to heart. You're gonna meet jerks out there, and they're gonna do stuff and say stuff to make themselves look and feel better, you know, at your expense. Just ignore it. You'll find the right group.
Yeah.
You know, don't get discouraged. Have fun with it. That's the most important thing. You know, too many times people take it too seriously. This is a hobby for all of us, you know. And hobby is supposed to be something you enjoy and that's fun and inviting for others. And, you know, there's a wealth of knowledge out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help, you know. But stay out of drama.
Hey man, it's good advice. They were all great pieces of advice. You know, get to know your truck, learn how to work on it. Realize that there are people out there who don't necessarily represent everything that is great about the hobby, but there are a lot of amazing people who are representing all of the great things about the hobby. And
absolutely.
And seek those people out and look for support from them. The guys that I interview all would love to answer your questions. The people I've talked to are always like, oh, sure, just shoot me a message. I'd be glad to help you or answer that. And, And I think that's one of my favorite parts about the hobby is that the people in this hobby are just so
the
good.
Community.
Yeah.
It really, you know what, and social, that's what I do like about Facebook. And you get to put a face to the name and the build and stuff like that. The community that can be, you know, is awesome.
Yeah.
If we could just take the toxicity out of it, that would be even better. But like anything in life, it's not going to happen. Right. Just try and avoid it. Have fun with it. That's the most important thing to me in life, and anything is, you know, just have fun with it. We're not here forever.
Right.
You know, and you no matter how big of you think you are, and then, you know, 1,000 years from you now, nobody's going to remember you.
Right.
So the only thing I worry about is what are people going to say about me at my funeral in front of my children. You know, that's kind of how I live my life.
Fair enough.
I live it for my kids and try and be an example for them. And if I can help somebody else, and then I'll do it. But first and foremost, man, just take care of yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. Solid advice, man. I love it. I only have a couple questions left. This one's one of my favorite ones to ask because I think a lot of people have a different perspective on it. Is where do you see the scale crawling community headed in the coming years?
It's growing. I mean, from where I've seen it come from is, you know, grown in leaps and bounds. And the technology just keeps growing with it. I think you're going to see more and more little niche companies starting to come out.
Yeah.
That, you know, more specialty. I see the you know, the ultra scale is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
You know, I see that end of it starting to grow more. It's growing in leaps and bounds. I mean, you've got some fantastic companies out there. I mean, it's still growing so much that Associated just put out their own scale truck.
Yep.
Okay. So what does that tell you? The scale's taking off. I love it.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
I see the scale end of it growing. There's definitely going to be bigger and bigger comps. The Europeans are just crazy. Have you been keeping an eye on that German? Oh my God.
I haven't.
What they do there is just, I watch and do a lot of research because I like to learn.
Yeah.
And I take my inspiration from everywhere. And of course, what the German, I totally dropping the name right now, but it's happening, every year. It's pretty amazing what their courses and and then I see what you have down here. Of course, Berkeley's this weekend. Dana Lloyd's putting on Berkeley up here in Canada, and I mean, seeing some of the stuff that's going there, it's just wow.
Yeah.
I wish I could go. Canada's a big place. I suck. I stay at home a lot. I don't get out a lot.
Yeah. Super scale. Is that what you were looking at? I saw some live feeds come from Super Scale. Yeah. I saw some killer like builds and stuff. And what's really getting me is some of the Asian countries stuff that is going on. Like it's growing so fast. Like and
yeah, they've taken over the market. Yeah. Like it used to be the North America was the biggest,
yeah.
And no, man, in the last 4 years, what's going on in Asia is just phenomenal. Like when I started my Series 3 build, because I'm the world's slowest builder, I challenged myself to do it, and but then I started seeing other stuff, and then there's this Anthony Wong and Cameron Wan and the AGGC or whatever. Yeah. They're doing some phenomenal stuff. Like they built their own hard bodies in Series 3, and of course they've got all the machining and stuff factories right there, so obviously it's going to be cheaper for them. But
right.
They were doing some stuff that I liked, because I'm a huge Land Rover fan. And then of course building them, the way I do it, as I study the heck out of anything, I like to learn.
Yeah.
So I learn all the ins and outs of it, so I can do it properly and do it justice, right? But these guys were like, they're doing axle over spring conversions, narrower axles, so you could,
yeah.
have the proper old style fenders. Like mine is kind of something that somebody would have built, out of an old beat up one, and takes it away out and as their fishing
right.
rig. I've got the fender flares on it, and that's because I couldn't get the tire tuck that I wanted.
Yep.
I need just that little bit narrower axle, and so I opted to keep the flares on, and they bugged me about it, but they liked the work that I was doing, and I like their work, and so yeah, that what I see over there taking off like is just insane. The drifting community over there too. I keep an eye on anything to do with scale. I like those drifters that they're doing over there. They make them so the bump parts fall off. If you hit it wrong, you're gonna lose your skirting on your bumper. And
yeah,
so,
no,
that's pretty.
The
cool.
drift community is intense with the scaleness. Like I thought we were scale nerds. Like oh my gosh, they're intense with it. So do you currently have any sponsors? And if so, why do you choose to represent those people?
I do not have sponsors. Yeah. Never been approached. I'm not a competitive guy though. I would love.
Just so you know, there's a lot of guys out there that aren't competitive that don't win comps that do have sponsors. There's a lot of people out there supporting those people as well. So.
Yeah, I like a lot of companies. I use a lot of companies. Locked Up RC I use a lot of scale hardware in my builds. Yeah. I love Locked Up RC. I like Vanquish. I really, really like GCM, obviously. Yeah. What they're doing. MFab with his bodies. There's just a lot. Yeah. My sponsors are William Joseph Steele and my wife Marcia.
There you go.
So that's my sponsors.
Yeah, no, it's perfect, man. That way you do you, and it's always you, and it's all about you, and that's always a good thing. So, what should we expect to see next from you? Like any secret projects in the works? Anything people don't know about?
I am I am halfway through, over halfway now. Um, I have a body that I'm coming out with.
Awesome.
It is based on my brute. It is 3D printed. It's basically a model that goes together. It's I'll be posting more about that. I'm gonna have I got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm working on. You know, I'm still new at this,
Yeah.
and I'm having fun doing the designing and at the challenge of making stuff and making functional stuff
Right.
and making it look right. You know, that's the most important thing. It's got to look right to me.
Yeah.
You know,
So
I like because I'm a scale. Like my first big successful print actually wasn't even really. It was a boat.
yeah.
It was before my engine. I built. I designed. A friend of mine, local here, said, "Hey, you do 3D printing? You think you could 3D print me an aluminum boat? I've never seen one." I'm like, "I'll try." So I started designing a boat,
Yeah.
and by God, it looked good. And he posted pictures of it, and people liked it, and I sold a couple, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. I don't do things like I said. It's not about mass marketing. If I make something and you like it, and you want to buy it, let me know. Um, I like to do the challenging stuff. You know, I've got some projects that I've taken on that are for certain people, and you know, there's a Edward
Yeah.
Picola actually. He's a guy. He just finished a brute build as well, and I had just posted sneak peek photos of the body that I was designing, and you know, for my brute and just the box area. And he's like, "Hey, I'm building a
Yeah.
brute. You want to sell me?" I'm like, He's like, "Will it fit it to me?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's for a." So I actually had to go back to the drawing board and make it just for
Yeah.
his. And of course, you know, that's the most challenging part for me is because I don't actually have the rig here. I never have anything here. I don't, you know, I'm making these engines that fit in the GCM chassis. I don't have a CMAX chassis. I get people to send me measurements, and you know, hopefully everything works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have a blast at Berkeley. It's a hell of a trip for me though, and I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, man. Well, is there anything I missed? Anything you want to highlight? Anything from you? Like this is kind of your moment here. Other than that, I've kind of summed up. I've exceeded my list, and we're coming to a close. So
oh, really?
yeah.
It's gone by
Yeah,
fast.
it does. It goes quick.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm going to continue watching your show because you bring on some amazing builders and people that are in the industry that I just admire and look up to. Like, uh, to me, I want you to keep doing what you're doing. I think you're bringing out the best of the hobby right now, which is bringing, you know, people to the forefront that, you know, inspire other people. And that's awesome. And I'm really, really honored that you asked me. I mean, like we've just talked back and forth about builds,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, you're MrCommaD."
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, yeah, because I don't, you know, push it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm.
Well, your name was popping up from people, buddy, and that's the thing. Like, so I'd talk to like Chris and Dana, and I'd see their stuff pop up in their stuff with the GCM stuff, and I'd talk to other guys who were big in the scale community, and the name starts popping up, so it's on the radar. I was already checking out the MrCommaD stuff. You and I had been talking. I'd never put the two together, and then when I was able to put it together, like you're the package, respectful, polite, like humble, like all of that. And that's what it's supposed to be. That's what this hobby needs to be about. It needs to be about people who are supportive and pushing things in a positive direction, and that's what I want to highlight. And I'm pretty selective, and I intentionally try to highlight certain people and different aspects when I select who comes on. So
Well, you know, and totally just blew me away, and that you did and asked me, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was amazing. I mean, and I've been trying to keep up with your guys' comments. Oh my God, they go by.
Oh, they go quick.
And it's a little screen.
Yeah. Well, when you can only see two at a time and they're talking, like, you lose them.
Yeah, I'm looking. Tim, I use the CR10s. I have 3 of them. I'm looking to get into SLS printer as well.
Awesome.
Just because some of my smaller, I've got some pretty cool stuff that I've designed, but it will not work on an FDM, and I know that. Oh, you asked me earlier. I was going to say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
About 3D printing. You know, if I could give somebody an advice, if it doesn't work, plan your orientation. Think about that. That's probably the most important thing. You can have an awesome part turn out like crap because you didn't put it on the bed in the right position. There's certain ways to do it that'll give the part strength and allow it to print in a way that works. You know, so if I could give that piece of advice to anybody that's looking to get into 3D printing, orientation is definitely an important one.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for being on. I totally appreciate it. You did amazing. I couldn't ask for a better guest, and the questions are great. I'm sure that there'll be a bunch of people who tune in afterwards, watch this, and check it out.
Nowhere near the audience as Eddie Goodrich, but you know what? It was awesome. There's some great stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And...
Yep. All right.
Yes, Chris. Yes, it is.
Yeah, buddies that do stuff is amazing. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I think that's the best way to work.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
You barter between people, and you know, you have a certain skill set, and somebody else has a certain skill set. Yeah. Oh, collaboration builds, man, those are awesome. Okay, things where guys just get together and build something amazing,
yep.
And they don't even have to live in the same town. They're all over the place.
Yep.
It's a great thing. So much community.
All right. So at this point, man, I'll just say thank you one more time, and I'm going to close you out, do my thing, kind of end things here, and I'll be talking to you in the future.
Yes, awesome. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah.
It's good to see you guys, and thanks everyone for the support.
All right. Thanks for being on. All right, guys, kind of ending things up here. I just want to thank Dion one more time. I totally appreciate it. I also appreciate him stepping outside of his comfort zone, pushing it out there, and doing this, because I know that you guys were interested in watching it, and he has a great message. He has a great story to tell, and I'm super pumped. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up. So I have Mr. Holmes himself, John Holmes, next Thursday, live at 9:45. You're not going to want to miss that one. After that, I do have people lined up. I can't even say the dates because I know there's a week in there that I skipped, but I do have Mr. Beef Tubes, Dan Davidson, is going to be on, and I just locked down Tim Samuels, so Warpig is going to be on for an interview. Their information will be posted up in the today or tomorrow. It all depends on how busy real life gets and what's going on. Aside from that, please check out all of my social media stuff. I do have a YouTube channel. It's Vanward Customs. I have the Instagram, Vanward_Customs. Check out the Facebook page at Vanward Customs, and then again, the website is Vanward Customs. If anybody's in the market for a killer scale backdrop or a license plate, that would be awesome if you pick one up from me. If not, there's other people out there that make plates, and they do a great job. If you're interested in me, use code VC2018, give you 10% off. Additionally, I am doing some stuff with my phone. I'm hooked, and if any of you are interested in iPhone photography at all and how far you can push iPhone photography, check out my Instagram at Pocket Snap. So Pocket_Snap, all lowercase. I'm having a blast, and so it's like my hobby within a hobby, and it's translating into RC, and I love it. So thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to go back through and check out some comments and see what I can reply to, and I will see you guys all next week. So see you then. All right.